There have been so many headlines lately about what is happening in the United States economically. We've been hearing all about DOGE and Elon Musk slashing the federal government, federal employees being laid off. We've heard about impending recessions, and a lot of people are reaching out to me just curious about how all of this is going to be impacting the housing market. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the current housing market in Maryland. We're also going to be talking about whether or not it is a good time to sell your home, to buy another home, and how to go about making an informed decision. It's so important that if you're thinking about making a move, either selling or buying, that you do so based on market data and statistics, and that you really know what's going on to make the best decision for you and your family. Hi, my name is Persia. I'm a local Maryland realtor, and every day I get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you who are thinking about making a move, whether that's buying or selling in the state of Maryland. I absolutely love it. So if you are thinking about making a move in the next 9 days or 90 days, please feel free to reach out to me and to my team. You can call us, text us, email us. We can set up a video call, and it would be our absolute pleasure to help you make the transition of buying or selling in Maryland. I first want to start out by discussing what's been happening with cuts to the federal government and federal government jobs. That has, been a very devastating blow to federal workers all across the country, but particularly for people here in Maryland. 14% of federal workers live in Maryland, and specifically in the counties surrounding Washington, D.C., like Prince George's County, Montgomery County, St. Mary's County is a county that has a lot of federal workers living there, as well as Harford County, which is known for having Aberdeen Proving Ground. So there are so many places in the D.C. suburbs, but also in the Baltimore metro region that are hubs for people who work for the federal government. So the fact that so many jobs have been cut have affected these people and have affected their ability to be, purchasing homes and in this market. And for me personally, I have worked with clients who are federal workers, and even some of those who got those letters from the president and DOGE basically saying you should quit your job and take this payout. And, people just feeling really unsure, insecure about what's going on and about their employment, which makes that uncertainty very real when it comes to making a huge purchase like purchasing a house. I want to take a very pragmatic approach, a very data-centered approach to what's happening in the housing market so that you really have an understanding of what's going on. So we're going to dive into some numbers, but I'm also going to give you information about what my team and I are seeing boots on the ground here in Maryland so that you have a very good understanding of what's happening and can make an informed decision. Okay, let's get started into the numbers. At the time of recording this video, it is April of 2025. However, the most recent statistics and data from the Maryland Association of Realtors is from the previous month, is from March. So we're going to be comparing numbers from March 2025 to the data that we had in March 2024 so that we can kind of see year over year how things are changing. So the Maryland Association of Realtors has a handy dandy infographic that shows a lot of information about how things have changed comparing March 2025 to March of last year. And one thing to note that's so important is that the number of units sold is down 10% in Maryland statewide. In March of 2024, we saw that about 5,300 homes have been sold statewide in Maryland, whereas in March of 2025, we only saw that number at 4,800 homes. So that's definitely a dip. In some of my other videos recently on the channel, you have seen me talk about low inventory, and this is what I mean. The number of home sales has dipped, the number of homes that are available on the market is lower, and so what I'm seeing, how that plays out in reality, is that there's competition because there's not a lot of homes on the market, so inventory is low in Maryland. Good news when we're looking year over year is that home prices in Maryland have increased for an average of about 3.2%. So I hear often, all the time, like, is it a good time to buy? Is the market gonna crash? are home prices going to go up or are they going to go down? And right now, prices are steadily going up year over year, and I really see that trend continuing. I don't see a market crash or, for people to be upside down on their home values, and part of that reason goes back to inventory. With inventory being low and, people really needing homes to buy, that's keeping home values strong. Another statistic that I wanted to talk about was the median days on market. So one of the indicators on the health of the market and how a market is moving is how long homes are staying on the market before they go under contract. And so right now we're seeing that there has been a bit of a lengthening on time on the market from 2024 to now in 2025. The median days on market back in 2025 in March was 10 days, whereas now we are seeing 12 days on the market as the average amount of time that homes are staying on the market. Having more average time on the market is actually good news for buyers, because the longer that a home stays on the market, the more likely it is that the seller is going to be amenable to your offer and is going to be willing to work and negotiate with you. When we see very short or very fast days on the market, that usually means that it is a competitive situation where there might be a handful of offers on the home, and that means that terms are going to be really tough for the buyer. So seeing lengthening days on the market is actually a good thing for buyers who may be thinking about making a home purchase in this market. Another interesting statistic from the Maryland Association of Realtors is that the number of new listings being put on the market is down. When you compare year over year, in March of 2024, we were seeing just about 7,900 homes, new listings being put on the market, whereas now in March of 2025, we're seeing just about 7,200 homes being put on the market. So that is a little bit of a dip. So even though we've been talking about the entire state of Maryland and what is happening in the housing market, I wanted to go into depth into some of the areas that might be of interest to you all, specific jurisdictions and what's happening in the housing market there. So I'm going to start with Baltimore City in regards to the number of units sold. So in Baltimore, we're seeing a negative 4.8% change in terms of the number of houses that were sold in March of 2024 versus March of 2025. So there are less houses that have sold year over year during that period of time. The median sales price in Baltimore went from $221,000 in 2024 to $230,000 this year in March, which is great. So that is an increase in home value, which is going to be good news to anybody who's a homeowner or who is thinking about getting into the market, because it does show that your investment is going to be sound and appreciation is still happening. In Baltimore City, the days on market went from approximately 16 days to get a property sold in March of 2024 to 23 days to get a home sold in 2025. And so again, that's showing us that there might be some more room and some more leverage that buyers have in order to negotiate. We're seeing a bit of softening in the market towards buyers when we are seeing that lengthening days on market. So that's a good sign, and could possibly be a sign that we might at some point be shifting from a seller's market to a buyer's market. In Baltimore County, there was an even steeper dip when it comes to percentage change over how many units have sold, a negative 8% change in terms of the amount of units that were sold in 2024 in March versus 2025. So definitely a dip there as well. Home prices, though, are still going up in Baltimore County. The average or the median home price in Baltimore County was $347,000 in 2024 in March, but it has gone up to $352,000 in March of 2025. So again, seeing that appreciation year over year, which is a great thing. The days on market in Baltimore County have increased as well, from 8 days on average to get a home sold to 11 days to get a home sold in Baltimore County. So let's leave the Baltimore metro region for a bit and head down to the DC suburbs and talk about what's going on in the housing market in Montgomery County, Maryland. In Montgomery County, Maryland, there is a negative 12.3% change when we're looking at the number of units sold in March of 2024 versus March of 2025. So less units being sold across the board, including in the DC suburbs. The great news in Montgomery County, though, is that home values are up 3.4%. So appreciation is definitely happening in that area. And interestingly, in Montgomery County, the days on market hasn't changed year over year. So it was 7 days in March of 2024 to get a home sold in Montgomery County, and that holds true in 2025, still 7 days. And that really goes to show you the demand that is in the DC suburbs that's still ongoing. So when we take a look and really synthesize all of this data, what does it mean for you? Essentially, if you are a seller, and I really emphasize this, the pricing of your property is so important. You want to make sure that you are pricing your home appropriately for its condition and its location. I'm still seeing in the market that people are thinking, oh, this is such a strong seller's market, so I'm going to shoot for the moon, and I am going to price the home, $30,000 to $45,000 over what, is market value. And that is just not a good strategy. You're shooting yourself in the foot and you're leaving money on the table if you do that. You need to price your home well, right? Which is not overpricing it so that people can see the value in it. Sellers really have to understand that in this market with high interest rates, we're still at interest rates around 6.5 to 7%, and there is so much economic uncertainty with what's happening with tariffs and with what's happening with, just what's happening in our country in general. People don't know if they're going to be losing their job or, if prices and inflation are going to go up even more. And so what that means is that buyers really aren't moving unless they have to, or unless, kind of circumstances in their life are precipitating that move. People aren't willingly just like, yeah, let me buy a house. It's such a great time to buy. It's a time of uncertainty, a time of inflation, a time of high prices. And so with all of that being said, sellers need to understand that they need to price their home appropriately because buyers are very savvy. They look at Zillow, they look at all of these websites, they work with agents who are going to tell them if a home is overpriced or not. And what we're seeing, especially with that extended days on market, is we're seeing that buyers, are identifying that these homes are overpriced, and that's why they're sitting on the market. So I really implore sellers, price your home appropriately and you will get much better results. I work with lots of buyers, and what I'm seeing is that, multiple offer situations are still happening. So if a home is presented well, if it's priced well, if it's in a great location, there could be a handful of offers, like 2, 3, 4 offers on the property, and it could escalate some percentage above asking price. I'm also seeing that, people are doing as is in terms of inspection contingencies. Some people, I just had a listing and accepted a contract where they decided to waive the inspection. So all of these things are still happening, and it still is a bit of a tough market for buyers. It's not as difficult as it was back in 2021 when interest rates were so low and everybody was trying to buy a house, but it is still a tough market for buyers. We will have to see what happens in the future. I wish I had a crystal ball and could predict what's going to happen with tariffs and the economy and inflation and how that's going to impact the housing market. But for now, what I'm seeing is a strong market in which buyers and homeowners are getting appreciation on their property. And so I am not seeing a market crash in the future. Well, there you have it. I hope you found this market update helpful. There are so many moving parts when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the housing market. And so, it really is not a one size fits all thing. Some of these market statistics could be accurate for like one particular pocket, whereas others, the market might be totally different. So just keep that in mind. But again, if you are thinking about making a move in Maryland, to Maryland, within Maryland, buying or selling, please feel free to reach out to me and my team. We would absolutely love to help you. All of our contact information is in the description box below, and there's a link also below where you can schedule a call with us to get started and to chat through any questions that you might have about the housing market. So please make sure to do that. Thank you so much for watching the video. Every week we put out new videos on what's going on in the Maryland housing market, and we hope that you find it helpful. If you liked this video, please make sure to take a look at all of the other videos on our channel. These should be informational for you, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.